In the summer of 2021, residents of Tampa Bay, Florida, woke up not to the fresh morning sea breeze, but to a pungent stench. Looking out, the river mouths and coastlines were in sight. Countless dead fish, belly up and of all sizes, floated densely on the water, layered upon one another, as if the ocean itself were silently crying out. The entire town was shrouded in a foul odor, and residents, covering their eyes and noses, moved about in panic and confusion. The local government quickly mobilized manpower and deployed heavy machinery to begin the cleanup. For 7 days and nights, they worked tirelessly without rest, only to find that the dead fish kept coming in waves. No sooner had one batch been cleared than a new one would surface. Within a few days, the stench had spread to neighboring cities. The mayor of Tampa even publicly called on the governor to declare a statewide emergency. In the end, this disaster resulted in the death of approximately 2 million tons of fish. The economic loss to the fishing industry reached as much as $280 million. Amid this sea of dead fish, one particularly large species stood out: the Atlantic giant, the Goliath grouper. These massive fish were so big that excavators were needed to haul them away. It's truly shocking. So why did these giant fish perish alongside the others? Was this disaster a natural calamity or a man-made catastrophe? And what makes the Goliath grouper so special? Let's delve into this ecological tragedy together. Unveiling the truth behind it: the Goliath grouper, the gentle giant of the ocean. As its name suggests, the Atlantic Goliath grouper is a true giant of the sea. They are massive in size, with an average length reaching up to 2.5 meters. They can weigh up to 400 kilograms, with the largest on record even exceeding 500 kilograms. Standing next to an average person, they resemble a small mountain, inspiring awe and intimidation. The Goliath grouper's entire body is covered with dark brown spots, allowing it to blend seamlessly with coral reefs and rocks. This natural camouflage enables them to thrive in the ocean. They have broad heads and enormous mouths. Although their appearance may seem a bit unattractive, in the world of fish, this might be considered a unique kind of beauty. Despite their formidable appearance, Goliath groupers are surprisingly gentle in temperament. Diving enthusiasts often interact with them up close. Some even touch them, and the fish do not resist. This gentle nature has made them stars at popular diving destinations. They attract tourists from all over the world, who come just to catch a glimpse of these gentle giants. The lifestyle of the giant grouper can be described as that of a homebody in the ocean. They prefer to inhabit shallow waters, at depths ranging from 1 to 100 meters. They are especially fond of places like shipwrecks, reefs, or artificial reefs. Marine scientist Angela Collins once tracked wild giant groupers using acoustic sensors. She discovered that they rarely move. One giant grouper even stayed in the same spot for 736 days. Even when the sensor's battery ran out, it was still holding its position. The only time it made a long journey was for spawning. It swam 174 kilometers, and after spawning, quickly returned to its original spot. This homebody trait makes the giant grouper somewhat similar to another bony fish, the ocean sunfish. There are some similarities. The ocean sunfish is the largest bony fish in the world. It can weigh up to 1,000 kilograms, while the giant grouper ranks second, though it is slightly smaller. But their lifestyle is far less aimless than that of the ocean sunfish. As bony fish, the giant grouper has a swim bladder, allowing it to freely control its buoyancy by adjusting the internal air pressure, unlike cartilaginous fish, such as sharks, which need to keep swimming to maintain their position. Therefore, the giant grouper is more like a security guard in the ocean, leisurely guarding its own post. Although the giant grouper moves slowly, it displays remarkable intelligence when hunting. They feed on large shrimp, crabs, and even small sharks. Their typical hunting method is to slowly approach their prey and then launch a sudden attack. They have 4 rows of teeth in their lower jaw, but lack sharp tearing teeth. They can only swallow their prey whole, and their teeth are used solely to prevent the prey from escaping. Even more astonishing is that giant groupers understand teamwork. Scientists have discovered that they often cooperate with moray eels to hunt, with the eels slipping into crevices in the reef. They drive the small fish out, while the giant grouper waits outside to ambush them. This kind of cross-species cooperation has left scientists astonished, to the point that they even brought them back to the laboratory. Research has shown that giant groupers are selective about their partners. They only cooperate with companions who can help them hunt. These big creatures are not only far from stupid, but also quite strategic in their thinking. 2. The Tampa Bay die-off incident, an ecological catastrophe triggered by red tide in July 2021. An unprecedented die-off crisis broke out in Tampa Bay, with dead fish covering the coastline, river mouths, and estuaries. The stench was overwhelming, and residents' lives were severely affected. The local government urgently dispatched cleanup crews, but the sheer number of dead fish was overwhelming. According to statistics, this incident resulted in the death of approximately 2 million tons of fish, with economic losses to the fishing industry reaching as high as 280 million. The giant grouper, due to its enormous size, stood out and became the focus of media attention. Scientists quickly intervened to investigate and ultimately confirmed that the culprit was red tide, a marine ecological phenomenon caused by abnormal algal blooms. Red tide is usually triggered by toxic algae such as Carenia brevis. These algae release toxins that deplete the oxygen in the water, causing fish to suffocate and die. The red tide in 2021 was unprecedented in scale, not only killing large numbers of fish, but also threatening the balance of the marine ecosystem. Although red tide is a natural phenomenon, the red tide in Tampa Bay in 2021 had clear human factors. Scientists discovered that several local chemical plants had been discharging wastewater rich in nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus into the ocean for a long time. These substances acted as fertilizer for the algae, causing them to proliferate wildly. Investigations also pointed out that agricultural runoff and leaks from urban sewage treatment systems further exacerbated the problem. Water bodies with excessive nitrogen and phosphorus created a breeding ground for red tide, ultimately resulting in an ecological disaster. This man-made calamity not only destroyed the marine ecosystem of Tampa Bay, but also dealt a heavy blow to the local tourism and fishing industries. The cleanup efforts took several months, and ecological recovery is expected to take years. As top predators, Goliath groupers were already scarce in number, and this red tide has undoubtedly made their survival even more difficult. 3. The survival crisis of the Goliath grouper. From overfishing to protection. The Goliath grouper has not faced threats to its survival for the first time. In the 1960s, Florida experienced a sport fishing boom. Catching a Goliath grouper larger than a person became the ultimate dream for fishermen. This fish's tender and delicious meat was highly sought after in the market. However, sporadic recreational fishing did not have a significant impact on the population. It wasn't until the 1970s that a fisherman named Tang discovered a business opportunity. Tang began to specialize in catching Goliath groupers, and every time he went out to sea, he could bring back hundreds of giant fish to the market, where demand far exceeded supply. His success attracted more commercial fishing boats to join in. fishermen discovered that Goliath groupers like to gather in groups to spawn. All the fishing boats had to do was locate a shipwreck or a spawning site, and they could catch them all in one go. As navigation technology advanced, fishing efficiency increased even further. By the 1980s, the number of Goliath groupers had plummeted, and fishermen began to sense a crisis. Ironically, it was Tang himself who was the first to sound the alarm. He realized that the Goliath grouper was on the brink of extinction and took the initiative to contact the fisheries department, calling for a halt to fishing. In 1990, the United States issued a ban, completely prohibiting the capture of Goliath groupers. Violators would face hefty fines or even imprisonment. This is why anglers today release any Goliath groupers they catch back into the sea. The deterrent effect of the law should not be underestimated, and the protection measures have begun to show results. By 2011, the Goliath grouper was still listed by the International Union for Conservation of Nature. The IUCN listed it as a critically endangered species, but by 2020, its population had gradually recovered and it was downgraded to a vulnerable species. However, the red tide event in 2021 once again put them in the spotlight. The road to recovery for the Goliath grouper has been exceptionally difficult, mainly because it reproduces at a very slow rate. As a hermaphroditic fish, they are male before the age of 6 and can become female after the age of 8, with a maximum lifespan of up to 37 years. During spawning, they gather together and use sheer numbers to increase the survival rate of their eggs. However, spawning also attracts large numbers of small fish that feed on the eggs, resulting in an extremely low survival rate. The successful hatching rate is less than 1 in 100,000. In addition, while the eggs float in the sea, they are also eaten by other fish, further reducing the reproductive success rate. This habit of spawning in large groups, while increasing the survival chances of some eggs, has also become a fatal weakness for commercial fishing. Fishermen only need to locate the spawning grounds to easily catch large numbers of individuals. This kind of devastating fishing nearly drove the giant grouper to collapse by the end of the 20th century. 4. Ecological protection from the perspective of the giant grouper. The giant grouper is a top predator in the coral reef ecosystem, controlling the numbers of invasive species such as lionfish and maintaining ecological balance. Their decline not only affects their own population, but may also trigger a chain reaction. For example, lionfish, lacking natural predators, reproduce uncontrollably and further damage the coral reef ecosystem. The red tide event in 2021 exposed the profound impact of human activities on marine ecology. Wastewater discharge from chemical plants, pus-like runoff, and urban sewage leaks. These seemingly insignificant actions ultimately accumulate into ecological disasters. The tragedy in Tampa Bay reminds us that marine ecosystems are far more fragile than we imagine. In recent years, Florida has strengthened protections for the Goliath grouper. For example, the establishment of marine protected areas and the creation of artificial shipwrecks provide them with habitats. However, climate change, ocean pollution, and illegal fishing still threaten their survival. A study in 2023 indicated that the frequency of red tides in Tampa Bay may increase due to global warming, and similar incidents could occur more frequently in the future. In addition, public awareness of the Goliath grouper still needs to be improved. Many people regard them as a delicacy rather than an endangered species. Education and public awareness are key to conservation efforts. Only by helping more people understand their ecological value can we reduce human-caused harm. The mass fish die-off in Tampa Bay in 2021 served as a wake-up call, drawing people's attention to the importance of marine ecological protection. The Goliath grouper, This gentle giant of the ocean reminds us through its tragic fate that the balance of nature is extremely fragile. Every act of human greed or negligence can trigger irreversible consequences, from overfishing to red tide crises. The fate of the Goliath grouper reflects the complexity and contradictions in the relationship between humans and nature. This disaster is not only an ecological tragedy, but also a mirror reflecting how, in our pursuit of development, we have plundered and neglected nature. Protecting the Goliath grouper and preserving the marine ecosystem is, at its core, about protecting ourselves. Perhaps we need to learn to slow down, listen to the breathing of the ocean, and coexist in harmony with these silent giants. The road ahead is still long. Let us hope that we can draw wisdom from the lessons of Tampa Bay and find the answer to harmonious coexistence between humans and nature. The incident of dead fish in Tampa Bay and the story of the Goliath grouper are a microcosm of the struggle between nature and humanity. From the initial frenzy of fishing to legislative protection and then to the ecological catastrophe triggered by red tide. The fate of the Goliath grouper is like an epic ecological saga full of ups and downs. It shows us that the ocean is not an inexhaustible treasure trove, but a home that requires our careful protection. As I wrote this article, I deeply felt humanity's dual role toward nature. We are both destroyers and guardians. I hope this story can inspire more people to pay attention to the marine ecosystem. Let us learn to respect and cherish nature, even as we enjoy its gifts. Only in this way can the Goliath grouper continue to thrive in the ocean, guarding their own coral reef kingdom.